This is Monocle on Fashion, a brand new show on Monocle Radio. I'm Natalie Theodosi, Monocle's fashion director and your host. This week we continue our mini-sode series, Under the Covers, where we take you behind the scenes of the magazine and give you a glimpse into the making of the fashion pages. It's almost like being a fly on the wall in our editorial meetings here at Midori House. We want you to meet the colorful cast of characters who get together to make the magazine every month, from the writers to the photo editors, the art directors, and the photographers. This week, our December-January issue has just hit the newsstands. It's a special issue that celebrates the winter season and all things festive. In the fashion section, there's a series of very exciting interviews and features we've been working towards for quite a few months now. First and foremost, I flew to Milan to sit down with the CEO of Loro Piana, Damien Bertrand. True to the brand's discreet approach to communication, Bertrand doesn't often give interviews, so this is a really unique opportunity to peek inside the world of Loro Piana and hear about the company's strategy straight from the source. What's even better is that Bertrand was so generous with his time and willing to have an open, unscripted conversation, very rare in the current landscape when fashion brands want to exercise full control. He shares his ambitions for the brand, how he plans to grow it without compromising its integrity, tells us why he wanted to take over the Harrods windows for Christmas, and so much more. This issue also has a great conversation on personal style with the jeweler Gaia Reposi, a roundup of the best retail openings from around the world, and a great style story to inspire you to dress up for the holiday season. I've always thought that the writers, myself included, get a little too much credit about the making of these pages, while in many cases it's the photo editors and the art directors who really get to set the tone. This is why I asked our photo editor, Alex Milnes, to join me in the studio to talk about commissioning a lot of the photography for the magazine's fashion pages and give you a different perspective into the making of Monocle. Let's hear directly from Alex. So Alex, welcome to Monocle on Fashion. How exciting. I mean, this mini-sode series, Under the Covers, is all about giving a sense of what really is happening behind the scenes. So I think we should give a bit of context that today I literally gave you no room to say no, and I dragged you into the studio with not much notice. Yeah. But we do that kind of thing in Monocle, right? That's how we work. We love adrenaline. We love a deadline. And we're here. December, January has just hit the newsstands. And there's, I think, some very good stories in the fashion section especially. So you're going to give us a little bit of a sense of what happens with the photography and how you commission the stories, starting with Loro Piana. I think that's our lead story, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
So the photographer's Lars Bronzeth, he's a really cool photographer. He's kind of a mix of fashion, documentary style with a direct flash. And then with a CEO like this, we want a photographer who can put someone at ease and also make them look really cool. We want to make them feel comfortable, and also with these people, they don't have a lot of time, so they kind of need to work quite quickly as well.
Exactly, yeah. I've been on some of those shoots, and I know that you sometimes have 10, 15 minutes, and it needs to be super quick. This one was in a beautiful palazzo in Milan, but it was, like you say, right before the Fashion Week presentation during Milan Fashion Week, so they really didn't have a lot of time. Yet we came up with a great result. So how do you brief the photographer before? What's kind of the conversation that you're having?
We try and look at the space beforehand. Mm-hmm. We often, I know, always bugging you for recce shots and things like that. We look at who the person is, what they look like, maybe who shot them before to get an idea of how they are behind the camera. And then, we brief the photographer about the time. We always want a shot of CEO or the subject looking down the lens, but we're quite open to looking at different styles of shooting as well. And with Lars, he shoots with quite a direct flash, so that seemed to work really well with what was on display in the Palazzo and how the CEO looks.
And you find a way, usually, both you and Matt, when you work together, to make people look a little bit different than how they might look in other photo shoots, in their own kind of stock imagery that they usually provide a lot of the magazines, which is why we are very keen on shooting all our own imagery. How do you achieve that? It is, you say you look at what has already been shot of that person or how they've been shot in the past. You try to do it a little bit differently. Is it about not using traditional fashion photographers?
It's a whole mix of things. I think for us, it's really important that we work with different photographers all the time. We do so much here that it can be easy to fall into using the same people, but we're always on the lookout for new people, new exciting photographers. It might be the case, like you say, of getting someone who's not a traditional fashion photographer to shoot someone in fashion, or finding a documentary photographer to go and shoot a portrait of someone they wouldn't necessarily work with. I think you get really good results from that as well.
And how do you find new people? I'm sure that's the big question that a lot of aspiring photographers would want to know.
Instagram has been a great tool, and now my algorithm is almost perfected to finding good photographers. Along with that, I'm looking at other magazines, like Weekend Supplements. We get a lot of magazines in the office as well, so we're often flicking through those. And it's always good to look at the kind of big fashion quarterlies as well and see what they come up with.
Great. So anyone who's interested should send you an Instagram message.
Absolutely. Or an email.
And now another story I think that's very dear to both of us. This new series that we started the last few months, How to Get Dressed. This month, there's someone that I've always admired for the way she gets dressed, Gaia Reposi, who is an amazing jeweler. And we have this conversation with her about her style, how she collects clothing, but also how it ties into her overall approach to design, right? Which is very minimalist, very sculptural, and it applies to the way she dresses herself and to her jewelry collections. You have been behind all of the shoots since we started the series and make it look really interesting. So tell me a little bit about shooting Gaia specifically and how you picked the photographer there. We shot her in Paris, and what was your brief for that?
Yeah, Gaia, I'm really pleased with that shoot. I'm pleased with the whole series so far, and yeah, we've got loads of those to look forward to as well. With Gaia, there's a photographer, Edouard Jassinet. I've worked with him a few times now, and he just has a really nice feel to his work. He understands what we want as well. I explained the whole concept of how to get dressed. We're going to be shooting one person in maybe 1, 2 or even 3 looks. We were lucky enough to shoot at Gaia's shop, which looks incredible. It wasn't the sunniest of days, but he really made it look really luxurious.
Yeah, and it's on the Place Vendôme as well. There's some outside shots where it looks very Parisian and very chic. So I think it really captures her and who she is, and also her style. And we've also shot as part of this series that essentially captures the style and a bit of the personality of these very elegant people that we admire. We've shot people in Japan. We've shot Maria Lemos, who's our neighbor and has the boutique Mukimu here in London. Is it very different every time when there's different subjects, different locations? How does that make your brief different?
They're all really different. Like Hirofumi Kunya in Japan, we were shooting in his office/archive, which is super interesting to see. And then with Maria, we're shooting on the shop on Chiltern Street, so we have the outside to play with as well. It all depends on the location. And with this, it's been really nice to work with a few new photographers as well. So Maria was shot by Karina Lammers, who I think she's only shot an event for us in the past, so it was nice to try her on something different, and the results were great. And then yeah, we have a few coming up in the new year, which we'd like to try some different photographers. I think we're going to have Canada, hopefully something in London as well. We shall see.
It's such a great series. It's great to work with you on it, and I think it's going to get even more ambitious in the new year. Lots of different personalities, like you say, someone in Canada, a few more people in London, all across Europe, the US, and every month will be someone completely different, but people who dress really well, but also have something interesting to say about style and what does that say about your personality as well, which is important.
Exactly. And I really liked what Hirofumi said about if he leaves the house and something doesn't feel right, he will turn around and change it, whether that could be a pair of shoes or his socks or something. So I might take a leaf out of his book and do the same.
Exactly. Like that, and that's the whole point of the story, to take some practical tips, and then there's also some sort of deeper, more philosophical musings about style as well, if you want to kind of dive deeper. And that's how we like it at Monocle, right? A bit of high-low.
It's service journalism and then philosophy. It's perfect.
Perfect. You captured it better than me. And just to kind of wrap up, our briefing section also has a bit of a new approach and taste. We did a bigger shoot rather than just looking at retail and product. We have a theme that's all about dressing up, tailoring, and dressing up your blazers with brooches and pocket squares for men. I think it's really nicely done, and it will hopefully inspire everyone to dress up a little bit for the festive season. I'm interested to know how you are setting this up. I know you work really well with our stylist, Kyoko.
Yeah, I love working with Kyoko. She always picks the nicest clothes. Every shoot, I kind of spot something that I want. But yeah, like you say, this was a new way of doing it. It was a mix of models on the page as well. We don't often have both female and male models. It was a different style of lighting, using different backgrounds. I think it works really well. And hopefully, like you say, it inspires people to dress a bit smarter in the festive season. I might get myself a neckerchief or something for the Christmas party.
Yeah, I want a feather brooch like the one on the first image that you picked there. And more of that as well, right? More men's and women's wear next to each other, I think.
Exactly,
because
it works really well.
Yeah, and people shop together, couples.
Absolutely. My wife and I always do that. We pick out things for each other. So, yeah, more of this.
That was Alex Milnes, Monocle's photo editor, joining me here in our London studio. And that's all for today's show, our third Under the Covers minisode. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for another big interview coming next week. Today's episode was produced and edited by Lily Austin and Steph Chungu. I'm Natalie Theodosi. Thank you for listening.